Watch now, live, Nerds of Wisdom, Captain Marvel discussions, spoilers.
Spoiler alert! Hold on. I've got to cue this. Hold on. I've just got to do this. I got this thing. I'm going to do this. What?
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
very well done. Very well done. That was a seamless transition. Seamless. Oh, I loved the video effect you had of the, almost Star Wars kind of text happening there with your screen. That was just tremendous. That's is great CGI. Well done, you.
Well, look, and I thought the cursor was a nice touch.
The cursor was my favorite. It was a very 1994 throwback. It was awesome. Yeah.
Well, hey, I mean, we've got a movie set in 90s, so
I love it. I thought the slow moving cursor across the screen was wonderful.
Paul, why don't you sort of say a few things about who you are and what you're doing? Like, I don't know that anyone on the channel would be necessarily aware of what.
I'm quite sure that no one on your channel will know who I am. I'm 100% certain of that. Sure. My name's Paul Adams. I am an actor and a producer. I live in Brisbane in Australia, which is, the easiest place to make money as an actor in the world. Spoiler alert number one. I have a independent production company.
How long have you been a cafe waiter for?
Thankfully, I've never had to work hospitality. A lot of retail for me. So I've been working professionally as an actor since 2004 and producing pretty much that whole time. So I've worked for a lot of different arts organisations in management roles. I was the general manager of the Queensland Shakespeare Ensemble for about 5 years. I spent some time as the training manager at the Aboriginal Centre for Performing Arts, which is a training school for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander performers across all streams, dance, music and acting. I've had some fun jobs, and I'm focusing now on building my production company back up and just relaunching my theatre work this year. So there's a lot on the go right now, which is fun.
Yeah, and I'm just a nerd. I do nerd stuff.
Yeah. Well, hopefully the people on your channel know who you are.
Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if they didn't. So you went and saw Captain Marvel pretty close too, didn't you? Like Thursday or something.
On opening day. Yep, saw it on opening day. My wife decided that she wanted to see it on opening day, and I'm like, yes, let's do that. And I still have a day job, so it's pretty flexible, the job that I've managed to maintain, which is great. So I just went, I'm getting home early. And went and saw it, 4:00 session in the afternoon. Best freaking time ever. There was like 5 other people in the cinema. It was tremendous. Yeah. No, we kind of picked that time slot hoping that it was just the most awkward time for people getting their kids after school and, just before people finished work. So there was a session just before 3 or at 2. There was a session at 6, and we're like, let's get that 4:00 session. I reckon that'll be the corker. And it was, man. It was the best. The best.
Nice work. I actually, mine sort of came out of just half dumb luck, because we went on the Wednesday night, which was.
Oh, you saw the pre-launch.
Yeah, we saw the pre-launch. So
nice.
It was very nice. We went to the cinema, and I only got a ticket because some friends had bought tickets. And then one person pulled out, and one of my friends said, "Oh, I know a guy who'd be interested." And sure enough,
yes, he would.
Interested. I was very interested, although not initially. Did the trailers really do much for you?
I enjoyed the trailer. Yeah, I was looking forward to seeing it. But I'm a sucker for a superhero film in the Marvel universe. Not so much DC. I was never a comic book nerd. I've never really kind of got into comic books as a kid. There were some Archie comics lying around. I don't know who owned them, but I read those if they were there. But I never bought them. I never got into them. Certainly not like you. I really didn't. I worked basically. That's what I did. That was my childhood. The minute I could get a job, I went and got a job, and that's led to healthy career, but I never really got into comic books. And so, yeah, so for me, superhero movies are an escape. I enjoy them. And as an actor, it's one of the types of movies that I can go into and just switch off and just enjoy. You know, I don't generally take my analytical brain into a superhero film. So, you know, there's a lot of haters out there at the moment, and I don't care.
Yeah.
So,
Again, I'm very different that way.
yeah. So,
oh, sorry. I was just saying I'm very different that way. I do take my analytical brain, like I am very much into it. But I think in part because I see comic books characters, at least, and the stories they tell as today's modern myth.
Very much so.
Yeah. So in terms of, you know, Campbell's work and others, they're the ways in which we identify what we find meaning through our society and integrate into our society and find the values of our society within comic book movies. So I guess I'm always switched on when I'm watching comic book movies. Plus, as you mentioned, I do have a pretty strong connection to the comics. And I think I was very disengaged early on because Carol Danvers, like, I mean, Miss Marvel, or who later became Captain Marvel when she took on the powers of Marvel in the comic books, she's been she's a C or D grade character.
Yeah, right.
She's not really popular. Like, as someone referred to it as, her greatest contribution was allowing Rogue to take her powers and made Rogue awesome. Because Rogue absorbs Carol Danvers' powers.
Yeah. Okay. So they connect at some point.
Yeah. So Rogue gets drafted into the Brotherhood of Evil. Oh no, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants by Mystique, and Mystique convinces her as a young girl to go up and attack Carol Danvers. And Carol Danvers is so strong that it's a prolonged attack, and so she permanently absorbs her powers and her memories. And then she lives however long in a coma. So people are like, that's about her best contribution so far. So I mean, they did try and revitalize her for the new launch of the comics, and sales were never really brilliant. Like, I think they brought her out as, you know, they reintroduced her with the name Captain Marvel instead of taking on Marvel's name instead of her name, which was Miss Marvel, because initially she was a female counterpart a number of years ago. I think since then she's had she's up to a 6th title reboot. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man.
Yeah. Spider-Man's got...
Don't go there.
No, that's all right. So I was like, and part of it is I also knew that they were going to use her to replace Adam Warlock in the Infinity Wars saga. So that's what's happening now with Endgame. In Endgame, it's actually Adam Warlock who comes and saves everybody.
Right.
And I realized early on that they were going to use Captain Marvel instead of Adam Warlock, because at the end of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they have the cloning chamber for Adam Warlock. So they teased Adam Warlock, and then they never brought Adam Warlock. And so I was disappointed.
So for those of us who aren't comic book nerds, who is Adam Warlock?
So Adam Warlock is the Sentry, and he's one of the most powerful superheroes in the Marvel universe. But he also, at times, he's a bit crazy. He's not really but he's sort of he's a Superman-styled character. But
so, given that they teased at him in Guardians 2, and given that, I mean, let's face it, spoiler alert, we know that the Avengers are going to beat Thanos. Do you foresee that they might... Oh, sorry. I mean, I predict...
Okay.
Do you think that they might bring Warlock in if he gets a bit crazy at times as a, you know, because of everything that's gone on, his mind's a bit screwed, he becomes the big bad until they make him good? in a new Avengers film or a new Captain Marvel
Sure.
film? Or
When he's first birthed, he's birthed to actually take on the Guardians and to destroy him. He comes out as Adam Black and is a bad guy initially. And
well, there you go.
So if they do decide to go with Adam Warlock at any time, that's highly likely because that's part of his storyline already. So,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but the thing that convinced me actually was the Guardians of the Galaxy because I'm going, why are they bringing this C-list character to front up the next phase of Marvel movies? And then at some point I was sitting there and it just occurred to me, well, they did it with Guardians. Guardians were D-list characters that no one gave a damn about, and
they did that well.
Yeah, they did that real well.
Yeah.
And so I just had to go with I've now taken on the phrase "in Feige we trust." Kevin Feige is the person overseeing all of the Marvel Universe, the MCU. He's taken us well this far. Just have to trust in Feige.
Yeah, I've been really amazed at the way that Marvel have been able to bring together all of those. Like, I thought Avengers was going to be tough, like to bring all of those characters together. But, then you get Joss Whedon on the script and you're like, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And,
response.
Look, seriously, he's a genius. That man is a genius. And, I think to do that and do it so well. And look, I did a video, very kind of, rough guts kind of brain dump video when I got back from seeing Captain Marvel. And one of the things I commented on in that was that I think that he really helped shape the current styling of some of the moments, not the scripts completely, but, you see it all through, Buffy and Firefly, all the stuff that he's done. He's just a master at those little moments that really seal a relationship or just drive a really great moment of comedy. And, he did that in Avengers and did it very well. He really, truly understands how to get under the skin of a character and write from their perspective. And, I think that's been really well carried forward in some of the movies now. And there are some little moments in Marvel, Captain Marvel, that I thought were just little, head nods to that kind of concept. And they did that really well. So
I think, I'd agree with that. I'd say that some of my favorite things about Whedon is his ability to see everybody in the scene as valuable, or at least to have some sort of to make the conversations really natural. And it's all, for me, when I'm listening to a Whedon script, it's all the throwaway lines that happen in between the dialogue between the main characters.
Yeah,
so it's like the tension is between these two characters, but it's all the little bits of dialogue happening between the other characters.
Yeah,
in the scene.
You're seeing the impact that moment of tension between those two people, how the people are dealing with that tension, which you just don't see in a lot of scripts. You don't see that in a lot of films, and the way he brings that through, and like all the way through Firefly, the way he did that, it's just brilliant. Yeah, he's a master storyteller.
Agree. And for me, the turnarounds, how he'll set up a piece, and I think this goes to the comedic part, is that he'll set up and you'll totally buy into what's happening, and then he just flips it suddenly at the last minute, and it's not what you thought it was.
Yeah. He's very good, and it's great writing. It really is, and we don't see enough of that.
So overall, before we sort of get into an overall thing of what you thought of the film, what were the main moments for you that really sort of characterized the Marvelness of the film?
Oh, the opening credit sequence, the cut scene with Stan Lee.
Oh my God,
lovely. That was really nice. That was actually really well done.
I sort of just said, I was watching that and I went, oh my gosh, all the feels, and everyone just sort of around me just burst into like, yes.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, each one of them has a bit of a different flavor. And although, I don't really know what, to me, makes a film, a Marvel film, apart from the fact that it's got Marvel characters in it. I think, it's hard to carry a look and feel through films when you've got different directors. I mean, you saw that with the constant changing of directors through the Harry Potter series. Those films, they constantly look different and they feel slightly different. So, I think for me, if you've got, was it Figgy, the the guy that's overseeing all the scripts and the storyline, the
Feige,
MCU.
yeah, Feige.
Who?
Feige.
Oh, Feige. Okay, I'll make a note. Feige. If you've got someone like that overseeing it,
like that, it is a weird name.
it is. Yeah, and I don't care enough to remember it. So yeah. So for me, I think it's interesting because because I've not been a hardcore comic book guy. I enjoy the movies. I don't really kind of look at them as a sense of, this has the Marvel feel. It has a superhero feel, and it has Marvel characters. Obviously Nick Fury's got that connection through so many of the Avengers films now, but it's not something that I really kind of feel, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I do. I hadn't really considered it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are characteristics of all the films, and I think Captain Marvel picks up on a lot of the Marvel traits, which is, it's still very family orientated. It does do a combination. It does almost the MASH formula of drama to comedy back to drama really well. So, whereas I tend to feel the DC films are a little bit darker, they're a little bit more.
Worse written. That's not great grammar there either. From a writer myself, that's not the best grammar. But yeah, I think that's the thing is you do get to go on a nice journey through, that sense of a journey through a Marvel film. And I do find with the DC ones that it's just they're trying to just push through so hard all the time, and they need to just chill out a little bit. I think that's the thing is you don't see that really kind of the relaxed side of the characters in the DC films. You don't see those personal moments that, we talk in acting about wearing masks as a character, and you put a mask on of, obviously it's a little bit more literal in superhero films, but, we all have the private person that we are. And then when we go out into public, we put on our public mask, and that person, which is slightly different in public. You might walk around in your jocks at home quite a lot. You generally shouldn't. Well, you shouldn't, but generally you wouldn't do that in public. There are certain things that you take on for a public persona, and then again in your work, it's a different persona again. And that's all based on the environment and the relationships that you have. Because, as an actor, one of the things that I personally, I don't know what the word is, but as an actor, I apply is that sense that where there are more than two people in a scene, there is politics because of relationships that are stronger in some places than others. So if we had a third person in this interview, we might have a really strong connection. That other person might not have as strong a connection with you. So, then you're both vying for my attention and time and that kind of thing. So, think about any conversation where three people are talking. Think about the politics in that in regards to who has the stronger relationship, the longer relationship, who's got the connection better, and it's fascinating when you start to see it. But, so we don't often really see that relaxed, casual humanity of the DC characters in the films. I don't think anyway. I think we always see a slightly scaled back version of the superhero. Batman takes the mask off and he just stops talking like this.
Yeah, I agree.
We never see the Bruce Wayne. I think actually what they've done with Ben Affleck in the Bruce Wayne character has skewed a little bit more towards that. We see a little bit more of the real him. But again, it's that broken him that's a little bit, I'm over it, But I'd like to see him just flop down in a chair with a scotch and go, oh, what a crap day that was, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think, if we pull it back to Captain Marvel, we're both fans of it, obviously, and you can go check out our reviews or our dialogue on that. And I think I think what I liked was I liked a lot of the characterizations, like the interactions that for me, the Brie Larson and Fury buddy cop relationship thing, I enjoyed that. I had a lot of fun with that.
Yeah. I did too. I thought their relationship on screen was fantastic. From an acting perspective, for me, the relaxed casualness of them in those scenes, even when they were at loggerheads and that sort of stuff, it felt real to me. You know, I thought the way that they connected was just really great.
Yeah, I mean, there was probably a lot of I think it's probably a lot of credit to them as actors. Like Samuel L. Jackson is very seasoned. Some
Yeah.
would say he almost will vie for any role. But he takes it all, like he goes 100% into every role, I feel. And I think, you know,
Yeah.
Brie Larson's proven herself in a few different roles to date. So I was pretty happy to see her. What did you think of Ben Mendelsohn as the scroll?
Love him so much. Ah, I didn't realize he was in the film until I hit the cinema and went, oh, I know that voice. So, you know, to have that Aussie inflection come through in the Skrulls,
Yeah.
is that what he was? The
Yeah.
Skrull? Was great. And I think I actually, that is one of the things that I'm enjoying is they're embracing a variety of accents. You know, what Taika did in Thor Ragnarok with the New Zealand accent.
Yeah, good
I
point.
thought that is very breakthrough. You know, that's something that you haven't really seen before. The fact that he just really went there and went right down the stereotype of it too, which was hilarious. You know, but I really think it's a mindset shift that we need to see a lot more because, yeah, and particularly when you're playing with a whole universe of different races, the opportunity to use the wide breadth of accents that we have on Earth as different characters across a universe, different races across a universe. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. I mean, it's a great idea, and I think, you know, kudos to him for doing that because then I think you get Ben Mendelsohn come in and, you know, he's so good. I mean, you're talking seasoned actors. That guy is he's so good. And watching.
My understanding is I'm trying to think of what he's the main actor in. Like, I see him as like the side character or the back role in so many different things. I'm trying to think of what some of his big stuff's been, like where he's been the main dude.
Yeah, I can't think of any either. I mean, obviously, if we went into imdb.com, I'm sure there'd be a whole bunch that pop out. But I think he's just one of those really great support actors, you know? I mean, a great number two in any role. He can fit into so many different things. You know, works great in a suit, works great in a space outfit. You know, the guy's just amazing. And as a character actor.
Yeah, he moves between drama and comedy really well. Like his
very well.
His comedic moments were probably some of the most poignant for me. Like his you know, just the interactions with him and the cat and, you know, the offhanded you know, comments with Fury, like just the look.
Yeah. And they were the little moments I was referring to earlier, actually, is those little moments with him and the things that happened where he's just, you know, those little non-verbal moments are so key, you know, and he just nailed them. I thought they were great.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the whole scroll thing, I mean, was any of the reversals or that a surprise for you? Like as an actor, like you'd know story pretty well, but you switch off, don't you? I'm not sure.
Yeah, and look again because I actually wasn't looking for them as the good guys. I was looking for the twist in the team that she was working with and the higher intelligence. I knew there would be something there, but I hadn't really kind of thought too much about the scrolls. I was kind of just enjoying the ride, to be honest. So I didn't pay much kind of forethought to it. So when it happened, I'm like, oh, yeah, of course, you know. But no, I didn't. That's one of the ones that I probably didn't preempt. There was so much in it that I went, I think this will happen next. There it is. You know, there was a lot of formulaic stuff, which there is in a lot of those movies. In fact, most movies, you know, have that formula.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, you kind of got the problem with posting the scrolls, I think, as a villain in any film is it sets the context of shapeshifting as a story archetype. Shapeshifting in stories is never just about physical shapeshifting, like Mystique and those sorts of characters. Loki is a bit of a shapeshifter, but it's more the fact that the character reverses role and turns out to be something that they're not. So there's lots of characters in stories that shapeshift all the time. Like Han Solo is a classic shapeshifter.
Yeah,
it starts out as I'm not in it I don't want anything. I'm just here to get paid. And then right at the end, it turns out he actually does have a heart of gold. He is there for the rebellion. He's going to do the good thing. So immediately, like I went, oh, okay. So I was immediately cued into the whole. Okay, there's going to be a reversal. It's not actually the shapeshifters that are the villains. It's going to be blah blah blah. Which is why I was onto that immediately. My big issue with it is I think ultimately, firstly, actually, there's probably a couple of issues, but firstly, the Skrulls are absolute badasses in the comic books. Like, they are a real threat. They play villains.
Well, and in the comics, they are the bad guys, aren't they?
Well, they can be. They're not all bad guys.
Yeah, right.
You know, they're not all bad guys, but certainly when they are vicious and they are a threat. And you've got the Super Skrull, which is a genetically engineered version of the Fantastic Four in one Skrull, and then
that's
nasty. So that they can shapeshift. Sorry.
So that's nasty.
So they can shapeshift and use all the powers of the Fantastic Four. All these sorts of things. They do the whole infiltration thing. There's a whole series which people were speculating was going to be the next big storyline for Marvel, which is the Secret Wars. The Secret Wars is heroes suddenly discovering that the Skrulls have infiltrated all the high power sectors of Earth, and they start to realize, oh, actually, Professor X is actually a Skrull and not Professor X. Where's Professor X? So they start, the whole Secret Wars is this crossover throughout the Marvel Universe where the readers were never aware of who was actually a superhero and who was a Skrull.
Right.
So by posing them as just the good guys, some of the people are questioning, well, have they killed that theory of?
Well, no. I think that's actually a great setup, because then, of course, you get that reversal again in the new film where they, there is a whole, because like any race, there is going to be, the good people that are in that race and the bad people that are in that race. And there will be the people, I mean, you look at what they did with, the team that she was working with and Jude Law's team. And, those guys were out to, do some bad. And not everybody in that race of people is going to be like that. So I don't think that's killed an idea at all.
Yeah, my hope was actually to see some of the good side of the Kree, because every film has posted them as the baddies. And I was really excited. I think part of my enjoyment of the first act was seeing the Kree in their home world as people who felt under threat, who felt like they had to act on, this invasion itself.
This threat.
Yeah, I was starting to get that human side, so to speak, of the Kree, and I wanted to actually see it as a more complex story than what it was. So I kind of wanted a bit more complexity out of that. I was kind of hoping that we'd still get those moments that at least, I think the story went too simple at the end in the third act. It was too much of just they're evil. Instead of her being conflicted by the fact that actually she knows that the feeling of being under threat, and then trying to convince her partners that they're not the threat. I kind of wanted more complexity from that, because I really like it. They're great.
Yeah, and look, I did feel that the whole what's his name? I actually took notes. I brought them. So Yon Rog, so Jude Law's character. I found him, I mean, I think he's a great actor, and I thought there were moments that he did really great, but I just found the way that they built his character out, I felt that was really two-dimensional. I wanted to see more at the beginning that I just kind of didn't get a real sense of what his hope in her was. Like, there was that sort of, I'm trying to make you the best you can be. Well, for what reason? I would love to have seen a little bit more at the start. It's so that you can kill the Skrulls and actually end this war. You're going to help us do that. And I never really got a sense that there was this, he was talking towards the concept of a higher purpose for her, but never did you understand what it was or really get a clarity on what he was trying to push for. And then, it felt really obvious to me that he was going to be the one that, was, the bad guy in that mix. And yeah, I was a bit disappointed with some of that. And I did love that bit at the end though, where he did the flip when she's like about to punch him, and he's like the person, like the real kind of the sales job he tries to do in that last moment, which I just thought he did that really well. That was pretty fun.
Yeah,
And she did exactly what I hoped she would do, punched him in the face.
I think
So,
she did exactly what we were all hoping she would do. I
yeah.
I was kind of a bit confused by some of that though, because it's sort of part of the motif they set up with that whole moment at the beginning is controlling the emotion, which is a very Zen practice. You know, the whole martial arts thing is about being in
Mm.
control, and part like, but then she sort of she breaks free from the mind. And I was hoping there might be a motif to surround like either something about her connecting with her emotion actually makes her more human and gives and finds a source of strength,
Yeah.
or actually finding that control but knowing when to release and when to let go. Like I was hoping there was something in that motif, but it didn't kind of.
It didn't click.
It fizzled out a little bit there actually.
Yeah.
I was like, which is why the third act I think was a little weak for me. But that first act, like I loved the alien world, I loved the Kree home world.
Yeah, that was great.
Whoever the designers did on that, I probably could have looked it up. The designers did a great job
Yeah.
on that. Mind you, it does go to Earth pretty quickly though.
Yeah, I think it was interesting because I say I generally switch off, but I did actually kind of have the hero's journey running through my mind film and going, yes, she's in the home world. She's off to the special world now. And it's like, again, it's all the same. It doesn't matter what film you're watching. But yeah, I was surprised with how quick they got there. I would have liked to have maybe seen an attack on the home planet that just reinforces their thoughts and positions on the threat, just to build that a bit more. But yeah, the visuals on it, amazing.
Oh yeah, mind you, like I think when they did get to Earth, I was pretty impressed with the world building here too. Like it's for me, it's slowed down a lot. Mind you, I've had other people tell me that that's when they really engaged. So but I think their attention to detail was pretty spot on. Like
Yeah.
like coming through the blockbuster. I'm wondering that I was thinking there's probably kids in this theater who have no idea what a blockbuster is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they were gone before some of those people were born. So, yeah. No, it's fascinating. And I love the True Lies poster.
I noticed the True Lies poster. I was looking at all the posters in the background. I saw,
so good.
Jumping Jack Flash on the shelves behind him, and Terminator and all those things, which I think some of those things actually, those movies actually got referenced throughout the film.
Yeah.
Nice moments. Like I almost felt the motorbike driving when she was on the motorbike, it kind of felt a bit Terminator.
It's exactly what I thought when I saw it as well. Yeah.
Steals the clothes, steals the bike, rides off.
Yeah. Yeah. Had the exact same thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, mind you, one of the criticisms that I raised is I actually got a bit tired of all the 90s jokes. How did you find all of the...
Look, I was in there for a laugh. I probably chuckled at a lot, but then moved on. My favorite bit was waiting for the internet to hook up. I thought that was great. In the 90s joke category, that to me was my favorite. I just thought that was brilliant. That was just so much fun.
That was my thing. Like it kind of felt like they had that joke, but then they had the joke of waiting for the disc to load, and then they had the joke, a couple of those sort of those jokes to do with things loading or the stuff we see on the screen, and I kind of thought, I think they were all really good jokes on their own.
Was that all in one section though, or were you talking? Is there some other places?
It was spread out,
right.
So which is why I kind of thought, I kind of think it could have, some of the scenes paused at that point as like,
yeah,
okay, I get it. I mean, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be very interested. Like, I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely going to see it again, and I'm curious on the second pass to find out, because I did feel like there was some space to cut. So I'd be interested to sit through it again and then go, you could have lost that, you could have lost that, you could have lost that. I mean, I'll probably come out of it on a second viewing way more critical than I am at the moment. But for me, there's something really powerful about how something leaves you on your first run of it. I was a judge on the Queensland Theatre Awards for about 3 years in Brisbane. And, there was a show a few years ago that, we had a judging panel of 10 people. All 10 people saw this one particular show, and it was terrible. It was underdone. It was just not ready. It was just it's just not ready. It needed a little bit more writing work. It needed a little bit more rehearsal. I just didn't quite nail it. And, some of the vocals it was horrible. It was just a really bad show. It just didn't work. And it wasn't ready. Like, it was going to work. And it actually has gone on, and it's toured nationally, and it's gotten better. And, like, I'm not on the panel now, but it actually won an award this year, and it's in its return season 3-4 years later. And, it's become a much better show because it's had that time. And, I think, well, actually, I can't even remember why I was talking about that, but
I think it's more about you being a judge on the panel. But
no. I was leading to something about the way that I sort of judge a film. But I guess that sense of I've got the judginess in me, but that first pass of that play was horrible, but a whole bunch of other people loved it because of what it actually stood for. Like, it was a very cultural piece, and it was a very relevant piece for refugees, and a lot of people really got moved by that story and the fact that they connected into the refugee thing. But I actually didn't get any of that from that play, and I think the same thing's happening with this film. For me, on the first pass, I just had fun. I just enjoyed it. I think if I go back and watch it again, I'll be a little bit more critical. I know there's a lot of people that are hating on this film, and they've gone in with that very kind of, I'm gonna really pull this apart and dissect it on the first pass. And, that's totally fair. For a lot of them, they've got review channels on YouTube, so that's their job. But, I haters are going to hate, but I thought it was fun just on the first run through.
Well, yeah, and I always distinguish between, I can be critical of something, but that doesn't necessarily connect with me whether I like something or not.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm incredibly critical of Mortal Kombat the movie. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
It is quite possibly one of the worst movie adaptations of anything, really. It's horrendous. And yet, I can watch it over and over again. I have it recorded on my TV, and when I'm just in the mood, bam, there's writing and everything, and that dreadful...
Get over here!
That dreadful end when suddenly Sonya goes from being this really badass sort of awesome fighter to, oh, help me, I'm attached to a wall. Like, it's pathetic. It's really bad, but I love it. I love that film.
I will counter you there slightly, though, and say that I don't think it is the worst adaptation of anything ever, particularly computer game to movie. If you've seen Street Fighter...
Can I forget Street Fighter? Sorry, that's not even...
Well, it's... Okay, so Mortal Kombat, comic genius compared to Street Fighter.
Yeah, I didn't even... Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Brilliant. I can go into the film, and I find I'll always be critical in films, but I think the films really grip me when I find that I go through periods or chunks in the film when I do just sort of get sucked into the story.
Yeah, definitely.
I found that quite a bit, but then I found moments where I was being pulled out from things that I've already mentioned. But I can have those criticisms, and I can still go, I really enjoyed it. Had a lot of fun.
And still enjoy it, yeah.
Still enjoy it. I reckon I can go back.
I mean, I think for me, I definitely felt like the third act slowed. It was definitely a slower pace. But I didn't really have any of those moments where I'm like, oh, my bum's getting a bit numb, or I wonder what the time is. I still felt pretty connected to it the whole way through. And, maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just because, it was a bit nostalgic, and I loved seeing some of that stuff. But,
sorry, I've just completely realised that this is my newbie. I'm trying to work this stuff out, and I've just realised there's a whole freaking conversation going on YouTube.
Oh, have you got comments and stuff happening? I can't see nothing on here except you and me. So I didn't know that you got comments happening. You got people commenting. What are they saying? Tell that dude to shut up.
yeah. It's like students paying me out for stuff, but you know,
Nice.
other people asking questions. So you know, wow, there you go, learning all the time.
There you go. Well, it is our first YouTube live. Neither of us have done one of these before, so
No idea what I'm doing.
learning curve engaged.
Oh well, there's nothing I think I can connect to. Oh, someone can't hear because they got no volume. I know that's Nerfenstein. She's Tracy's watching the TV, probably doing PlayStation Virtual VR. I think
Nice.
most likely.
Nice.
Oh, she's been posting stuff about VR Star Trek. So I've been following her closely, just going like, wow, that looks good.
Awesome.
And someone says Super Mario Brothers was bad. That's true.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well done, you. Whoever that was. Holy
Super
crap,
Mario
that was
was
terrible.
bad.
That was so bad.
Mind you, one of my favorite songs come out of that. Almost Unreal by Roxette.
Which song?
Almost Unreal by Roxette.
Oh, okay.
Loved that song. Oh, hey, Steve. Good to see you, man.
I'll tell you one thing that really super impressed me in this film was the CGI they used to unage Coulson and Fury.
Yeah. What was that?
I just thought it was really good. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you while you were reading, so I'll shut up.
That's all right. Yeah, because me reading makes for great viewing. I was just reading a comment saying from Kylie Davies saying they kind of did that though with Winter Soldier and the Hydra infiltration. I didn't think it would work again in the MCU. That's a good point, actually. The whole Hydra thing. If they got that on the if you watch the whole Hydra thing because they kind of that for me was a real clever thing that the MCU did that DC probably has never even capitalized on. They went from movie, brought it into the whole TV world, and then took it back. The Hydra infiltration thing, I actually loved all that through a lot of the shows, Shield and all that. I thought that was actually really great. That's a really good point to make too. Yeah, I honestly didn't think that they could pull something like that off, but yeah, they certainly did. They certainly did. The scroll thing will happen, I reckon. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Goose?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Excellent.
Why wasn't Goose in any of the what?
Marvel movies? I don't know. In James Gunn we trust. Well, sadly, we know what happened there. Excellent. Oh, Ben Rose, Wonder Woman was better. What do you think of that? Was Wonder Woman better?
Oh, that's a really interesting comparison to make, actually. And I suppose it's one that a lot of people are making.
Well, it's one that Marvel's making because they're trying to post Captain Marvel as the response to Wonder Woman. So it's a fair comment to make, really.
Yeah, definitely. Of course it is. I mean, and, of course it's a comment to make. I liked Wonder Woman. I enjoyed it. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't honestly remember some of the stuff at the end of it. But, there was some things in that left me feeling very DC. I mean, I enjoyed the film and I thought they did it well. Again, I guess one of the things I loved about this film was the fact that, and I think I would like to have seen Wonder Woman just be a kick butt woman and not have the love interest and all that crap going on. Just make her a superhero who needs to save. Just let her do a job, and pay her the same amount of money. But that's one of the things I loved about this film was that there was no love interest. But what I really liked was that there was also no sexualization of the women at all in the, you get, Black Widow and the close lycra shots and all that kind of stuff and the sexy poses and things. And, they were just women in uniform getting the job done. And I really loved that. So I would like to have seen a bit more of that in Wonder Woman.
I went had a look at that. I was thinking about that too, because I went back and had a look at all the Marvel films, like back from, just the MCU as through Sony, not sorry, through Disney and pre-Disney, and so not the Fox stuff, so not X-Men that, but I think there's only like one or two films that don't actually have a real love story going on. Pretty much every film there's some sort of romantic interest, and it kind of sets it apart. Really, I think it allowed them to get on with. It allowed them to. It didn't become a distraction from the film. There was no need
Agreed.
for a character to be in there for that. It was just. It was really. I think it allowed us to focus just on Captain Marvel and Brie, and of course the side relationships. All of them mattered. They were all important, and everyone had a role to play.
Yep.
There was something missing from. Ardo says there was something missing from Wonder Woman. I don't know. Like I agree.
I agree. I do. I don't know what it is off the top of my head.
I think there was a couple of things I liked that Wonder Woman did better for me. I liked I thought the whole Ares again, going back to shapeshifters. Ares was clearly a shapeshifter, and that was predictable. I think I had that I kind of made the connection a bit too quickly. I don't know if because they were clumsy in how they handled that. I thought it was just really painfully obvious from the moment he was in there. But that didn't really bother me either. Like I think what I really liked, moment-wise, I feel Captain Marvel went with the whole. She discovers her powers and she becomes this great character, whereas Wonder Woman unleashes her powers and she takes the team with her. And I think I liked that more. So at the end, when Captain Marvel's going around killing stuff, destroying this, blah, 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 it's just about her. Wonder Woman goes up to the front line, runs through the no man's land, and absolutely liberates that city. And then, but she takes everyone with her, and then everyone becomes actually significant in trying to help make that happen, even though she made it possible. They were all in there doing their bit. So I think that was I kind of like that moment a bit more.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
In that regards. At the same time, I also think I liked the metaphor on war a little bit better than Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's whole metaphor is the refugee train coming through, and people arguing over, well, they're refugees, or are they terrorists? I get it. Marvel has a tendency to tell, not show, which is a bit of a bad storytelling technique.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Show don't tell. And I kind of liked the metaphor in Wonder Woman a little bit more, but that's not to say I liked Wonder Woman more. A lot of what that's a good point. Yeah, what is it, Ardo, that you think it's missing a lot of? I thought Wonder Woman was great. I don't know if I could like one more than the other. I just think they probably have things that they did well and things that the other did well, did a bit better.
I think it's a good point, though, about her at the end, like Captain Marvel at the end of the film. For me, it was just that whole, bing, I've got my powers and I know how to use them. And, they were setting her up to be gone for 20 years. There was definitely some scope that they could have left there where she got better at it. And, maybe she's like super strong or whatever and can blow a couple of things, like turning the missiles around. I think, maybe instead of blowing all the missiles up, she could have blown up all of them except one or two. One of them gets turned around and she starts shooting it back into the towards the spaceship that shot it. And they're like, all right, let's get the hell out of here because we're about to get blown up, or something. I just,
I think I would have liked that moment if it wasn't Ronan. I think Ronan was a real...
it was a big card to play.
Yeah, well, I think it kind of depowered him a lot from when we met him, where he was a real threat and scary. And it kind of made him a bit cartoonish almost, like, let's get out of here,
That's a really good way to put it, actually, because now that you've said that, that is exactly how I felt in that moment.
Yeah. I mean, he was powerful. Like, he was scary in Guardians, but then not so here. So I would have liked it if it was someone else. I would have been okay with it if it was just someone else.
But again, he is possibly, if you think about the fact that it's 20 years ago as well, he's probably still on his rise to power at that point. So,
yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, mind you, you don't spend time in the film seeing that. It's
no, exactly. You have to come to that and make that call. But but I honestly, I felt in that moment that that flip around from the point where she destroyed all those missiles. Then she just goes and tears through a few ships, and then sort of gives it the Earth is protected look. You know, that whole final sequence there for me was just a bit weak.
Yeah, mind you, like I think it looked good visually. It was great.
Visually, it looked okay.
I mean, I actually really I was nervous about the uniform. I'm thoroughly impressed they incorporated the green uniform as well. Have you? I mean, you would know about all of the history.
You are correct. I do not know.
Yeah. I'll see if I can pull this up on screen share and make it go infinite again. But that's the original green uniform of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, right.
And I'll see if they've got and that's the new one. But that's based on what it becomes. I'll see if I can. I think I've got. There we go. I've got the whole.
Yeah, right. Okay.
The current one, but yeah, like I love that they got both in. Like,
yeah, that's cool.
I thought that was really good.
Yeah, brilliant.
I liked how she looked in the end, like the way she moved, the sequence. I just am a bit nervous about the whole power thing. Is she too powerful now? Does it?
Look, I think, you look at all of the other MCU superheroes. I think they've done a good job on, finding a way to bring the weakness through, like the powers that they have. I mean, they're all ridiculously, tough players, and yet, I mean, you look at Thanos. He's got the glove. He's got the stones. The dude is essentially invincible. That's going to be hard to beat for anyone, So she's going to have to use her brain more than her fists to outwit him as well. It can't be just a slugfest,
Mm. Yeah, it's true. And I think it's Kylie Davies here saying that she's.
Hey, Kylie.
Going back to our earlier point, saying that by showing that the Kree aren't peaceful and how they're hell bent on conquering, she felt, I think, or they felt that it feels it sets it up better. Okay, I think it might set up that interstellar war thing a little bit better. I wonder where that's going to come in though.
So it'd be interesting. Correct, when he clicked in Avengers, Infinity War.
Yep.
He wiped out when Thanos snapped.
Yep.
That was half the people in the whole universe, wasn't it? Everywhere.
Yeah. I was having a discussion today with Ricky saying that it's just lucky that that Captain Marvel wasn't half of the humans that disappeared.
Yes, well, look, that's some very, very strategic luck in the ones that stayed alive, isn't it? So
that's right. But yeah, so when he clicked, it was half of the universe of everything. So half of each planet.
So the interesting thing for that, I guess, is what does that mean the Kree feel towards him? What does that mean that this, is that going to be then, are people going to be wondering how that happened? Are people going to know how that happened?
Yeah.
Are they going to be searching for answers to discover that it was Thanos, and then there's going to be this massive force, coming down on him that he's going to have to try and protect himself against? You know?
It depends on how closely to the comics they go, honestly. They've sort of deviated already and thrown a few curveballs in there. I mean, core comics, actually, it's Nebula who takes the gauntlet off of Thanos, and everyone comes and stops Nebula.
Yep.
So
I have heard that.
In the artwork at the moment, she's all pulled apart and held to the art piece at Thanos' disapproval. And that's that's directly out of the comics. But whether they stick with that or they change it or whatever, can't say. That they've been they're doing enough to sort of go, here's your connection to the comics, and
but we're going to mix it up a bit.
Yeah.
I'm not being a comic book kind of guy growing up. I am very mixed about that for the people that are comic book fanatics. That sense of, you've changed it. So, oh, tell me about her mohawk. Is that in the comics? The way
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they scoop her hair back up in that mohawk?
I, yeah, no, I haven't followed the comics much because they haven't really hit their mark writing wise, I don't think. And sales probably indicates that, though I think it's hopefully on the rise. Hopefully with the movie
Well,
that
the movie will kick the sales back up again.
yeah, and what's nice is like the character is very related from comic book to movie. Whereas previously, like the last few years, they've actually changed all the main characters. So people would go watch the movie, get interested in Thor, and then go, and it's not actually the Thor from the movie. So
Yeah,
I
right.
think it's nice to have that connection there that it might make that transition. She's sort of, as it happens with artists all the time, but also different story events. So she's sort of got this mohawk and shaved it all back, and but yeah, that's pretty common, pretty much out of the
Okay.
comics.
Because I
But
just
really like it.
it's a weird choice. So
Yeah, but I like it with the longer hair at the moment. I think it works. I don't know.
well, what I like about it is that, for young girls watching that film, probably 99% of them are going to have long hair. And, to see, I mean, it all comes back to representation on film, doesn't it? I mean, for young girls to be able to look up at the screen and see a really kick butt superhero that they can relate to as a girl, as a woman, that didn't need a guy to be able to succeed, and can go from looking girly and pretty to looking seriously kick butt and still fashionable. Not that that's important, but
no,
but like what they've done with her uniform is awesome. Like it looks combat ready. I
yeah,
think that's what I love about it. And so to be able to go, well, you know what, I can wear a pretty dress today and army cams tomorrow. I think that's freaking cool.
yeah. I think the thing that's really highlighted for me, I'm probably like most people. I'm not as, if it's not for my situation, I don't necessarily. I try to listen as best I can. But the thing that really stood out for me is Clara now at all of 5 years old, does things like we're playing. I did in previous video I mentioned we're playing Guess Who, and all she wants to do is choose the female characters out of the game. And recently I create playlists for her on my phone so that when we're in the car, we'll listen to playlists of stuff that I think she'll like, or different themes or different styles. And she asked me the other week. She said, "Daddy, can you put a playlist together of just girl voices?" I went, "Wow!" Like I just did not, just until that moment, I didn't realize just how powerful that was.
Yeah,
and I wasn't even aware of like just the lists. And it just sort of went. I went, "Yeah, of course I can, absolutely." So I did that. So I think I'm starting to get a better sense through those sorts of experiences of why this is so important.
Yeah.
Okay. We've got to finish up, but the big question here is, how did you feel about the whole call signal being Avenger and then making it the Avengers Initiative? Her call sign on the plane being Carol Avengers Denver. No, you're shaking your head.
I did not like that.
Yeah, that was weird. I kind of went.
Did not like that.
Why didn't you like it?
No, I just thought it was really just so twee. It's like, oh, do you have to? Kind of, just it was just. It's one of those things that people do in films where you go, it didn't need that. They were already we already know they're the Avengers. Oh, I'm just going to kick my tripod. It's just why? Why do you need to do that? They talk about Captain America being the first Avenger, and that's only, because he's a part of the Avengers and he was born, 80 years ago or whatever. So I just thought she doesn't need that to be connected to the Avengers. She's about to come and fight with them. Fury's already connected to her. It just seemed like a really weak way to try and give her a connection to the people that we're already connected to. And you didn't need it, and we don't need it.
I agree. I think part of it for me was that they had already sold me on the connection. Like in my review, I mentioned that there were times when they oversold stuff, like the 90s humor and all that. The connection was already there. Like, he saw the benefit of having a team of people with superpowers to combat the
Yep.
They saw what they were capable of and went, no, we need our own team. For me, that was the selling point. Like, I could buy that. And I didn't think I needed the Avengers connection on the plane.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Can I say, though, that to me, that's not the big thing that we need to finish on.
Okay, yeah.
I think the freaking big thing that we need to finish in, the Tesseract.
Yeah.
It should not be there.
I was trying to recommend. I was going, have we retconned this?
Coulson made a comment in the first Avengers film that Howard Stark found the Tesseract when they were looking for him. When Howard Stark was looking for Captain America, he found the Tesseract. The Tesseract was in the 70s, and now it turns up in the 80s, and it shouldn't be there because at that point, it's not until, Howard Stark can't find it. So for me, they've completely screwed the whole timeline of the Tesseract up, and that annoyed me.
Well, I actually had that on my notes to talk about, but then I thought, no, I need to go back and look at it more because, I remember the end credit scene of Loki, them finding the Tesseract after the whole, it gets buried underwater and all that, and Loki going, oh, that's very interesting. But yeah, the timeline didn't seem to fit because it gets buried, and it should be buried at that point.
Yeah, that's my recollection. My recollection is that Coulson talks about Howard Stark finding it when he's on the hunt for Captain America for him, for Steve Rogers, and that's when they found the Tesseract. And so now I'm like, oh, come on. So unless they somehow do a time jump of some sort where the Tesseract then ends up back with Red Skull, because that whole cycle's screwed up now.
Yeah. I honestly, I thought there'd be videos about this by now if I was right.
Yeah.
But I'm still questioning it. Like, I'm not convinced that's been accurately put together. Kind of felt like it was just another need to link it into Endgame. And I sort of didn't even think. I think they could have done the movie without without any of the Power Stones or anything, and it would have been perfectly fine. Like,
yeah, I mean, using that as the source of the power for her engine, great, but they're an advanced race. She could have just been working on something that she'd stumbled on. She was a scientist. She found this amazing thing. I mean, it could have just been a completely different mineral or element or, some kind of other thing. Mm-hmm. It didn't have to be a power stone, like an infinity stone, a tesseract or anything. It could just be science,
Well, Kylie's jumping in again, saying that there is something missing between Howard Stark finding it and Marvel getting it. Howard Stark wasn't interested in a power source, so it's likely that they sold it to Marvel. I'm not sure that could be possible, but at the same time, I actually thought it was buried during this period of history. So I'm not.
Oh, actually, no. Well, that's a good point, because if Howard Stark did find it,
right,
and that, well, I suppose that's true. Yeah, I suppose between when. Well, no, except that. Well, that's. I suppose it could do that cycle. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. That Howard Stark finds it. Maybe something happens to it and it gets stolen or whatever. I think I need to go back as well and look at all the references to how long that Shield has had it, because there's not been a reference to it leaving Shield's possession in between that time. Because bit more research needed, I think, but that's a really good point, Kylie.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a lot of end scenes I have to go and check out, which probably means watching the whole movie because.
Oh, what a shame!
Why wouldn't I? So no, okay. I think I can see how that works. Helping, thanks, Kylie. Yes, helping. Good. Thank you for those comments. I'm actually really pleased to see that and to discover that they were actually there. That's nice. Thanks for everyone who commented. Thanks, Paul, for joining us. And I think we should.
Not that I think I was much help.
That's all right. Actually, really, I think the reason one of the things I really appreciated about your perspective is you bring that creative, the drama side, so you know story and you know acting works, and
Sure.
I think it helps me to see sort of the more of the creative process on that level, whereas I just tend to get nutted down into the comic book storylines and that. So no, appreciate
Yeah,
that.
fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone. Thank you. Have a wonderful time.
Thanks for
And
having me.
appreciate it. Until next time, we'll see you. Bye.